Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel over at YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. And today I am finally getting around to reviewing On the Edge of No Tomorrow, the long-awaited fifth album and of course follow-up to 2016's Fear No Evil from the Godfathers of the new wave of British heavy metal movement. It is Quartz. I had to get all that in. This, of course, this is their first release on Hear No Evil Recordings, since Fear No Evil was released through High Roller Records. And this was released on May 20th of this year. And the reason that I should bring up here, the reason for why there has been such a long gap between this and, of course, Fear No Evil has more so to do with the fact of them losing Jeff Nichols in 2017. That'd be some months after releasing Fear No Evil, because Fear No Evil was released sometime in either September or at least October of 2016. So there's definitely was a gap there. So it really kind of hindered, I think, a lot of the recording, but they did kind of and I'll get into a lot of the recording stuff for like the lineups for this album, and just I guess kind of slight background, even though I just gave you a bit of some background there. So without further ado, let me get into my overall thoughts on the Edge of No Tomorrow from Quartz. Let's get into it. All right. Before I really get into my thoughts on the album, you know what I have to do. I have to do a track listing rundown, so I can tell you folks what are the songs are on this album, how many songs are on this album, and what is the time length for this album. And since we have pretty much a whopping amount of tracks here, 14 songs, it all clocks in at least at the length of, the last I checked, it's got to be around 60 minutes long. So, but it's definitely an hour here. It's definitely an hour and 1 minute and 10 seconds. So it's a pretty lengthy release for a, follow-up, But I digress. The reason is because of several singers on this album. Okay, so let me definitely read through these tracks here. Because again, there's only 14 here. We have at least Freak of Nature, Death or Glory, They Do Magic, Master of the Rainbow, Night of the Living Dead, Evil Eyes, Angels at the Crossroad, Keep Up the Fight, Brainwashed, Babylon is Burning, What Love Is, Dirty Disease, World of Illusion, and then finally ending with Highway to Madness. So there's your 14 songs. Now, again, I already kind of brought up that the long gap between Fear No Evil and On the Edge of Tomorrow is mostly because of them losing Jeff Nichols, who again, who was an original member of Quartz. Actually, most of the guys that are in the band are pretty much original members. It's just they lost Jeff Nichols. But I guess in a way, they still had some songs that were recorded when he was still alive. And again, if you need to know some more, Jeff Nichols also left Quartz in like the late 70s after, of course, doing a tour with Black Sabbath and obviously Tony Iommi producing their debut album in 1977. He obviously ended up taking Jeff Nichols as his main, I guess, special effects guy for like the albums and everything, starting with Heaven and Hell and pretty much ending sometime in the 90s. I don't know whether or not it ended with either Dehumanizer, which I just recently did an Album of the Week episode on, or Cross Purposes, or even Forbidden. I don't know which one was at least the final release. I mean, I could do a real quick check right now, just so I can just be more clear with you all on which ones. Yeah, Forbidden. So, I thought he did a lot of the stuff with, I thought it began with, I was kind of off on there, I guess, with Heaven and Hell, but I guess I thought he did stuff. Yes. Oh my God. Yes, it was Heaven and Hell, but he did do a lot of the keyboards through pretty much through even Reunion and Psycho Man. Shit, even when Ozzy came back in. Wow. Just had to do a lot of this quick checking and everything on the Metal Archives, but that definitely hindered a bit of the length for this one. Whew. But yeah, they obviously Tony Iommi pretty much took Jeff Nichols, and so even though Quartz continued on without him, that's how we got Stand Up and Fight, which is my personal favorite album from Quartz, and of course Against All Odds. I mean, what Mick Taylor, pretty much who was the singer, the original singer, of course, also ended up sadly passing away sometime around, I believe, the year, I think, Fear No Evil came out, I think 2016, and then Jeff Nichols, I think, left. That's the next year, which was crazy amount of time there. But they eventually at least split up around, I think, the mid-'80s, and then eventually reforming in possibly the 2000s to at least late 2000s into 2010s is when they did. And of course, Jeff Nichols coming back in the fold, and of course gaining a new guy in David Garner. That's how we got Fear No Evil, and then of course after that we then lost Jeff Nichols. So when it came to, obviously, this album right here, most of these songs are leftover recordings, obviously, and I think the leftover recordings were obviously, I believe, were Freak of Nature, Angels at the Crossroad, and of course, Highway to Madness, I believe, are the three recordings I think that were salvaged with Jeff Nichols. I mean, he does get credit as being one of the members on the album, so they obviously had to record a lot of this during the time of when he was still alive, but these are the only three songs I feel he did vocals on, because that's what I'm now going to get into the various different stuff that was done by three different singers, even though I just mentioned that I think Jeff Nichols might have performed vocals on these three songs, because of the other ones that sound slightly different from the rest of some, like, let's say, like David Garner on here, for an example, and of course the returning Jeff Bate, who his only credit to Quartz was pretty much performing the vocals on Against All Odds, the album after Stand Up and Fight, the guy that pretty much replaced the late Mick Taylor. So what we have here is each, at least, singer has their several songs. David Garner, I believe, has, again, since trying to find the information on who sang on what is very, very scarce. I mean, it's a bitch to find any sort of information surrounding who sang on what. So I pretty much had to go by guessing in a way, playing guess the singer in a way. So I had to really kind of go into each different vocalist, at least recent stuff, not just older stuff. Because we're going to talk about also another particular vocalist that's on this album right here, who has a tie as well to Black Sabbath. So we'll get to that. But I had to pretty much play Guess the Singer. So right now, I believe the songs that David Garner had sang on are at least Death or Glory, Babylon is Burning, Dirty Disease, and that's about it. Because I don't think it's him that's singing Angel at the Crossroad, Highway to Madness, and Freak of Nature. I don't think those are the songs that you're singing on. And I don't think those are the ones that Jeff Bate are singing on. And the ones that at least Jeff Bate sing on, or at least They Do Magic, Night of the Living Dead, Brainwashed, What Love Is, and I believe as well Keep Up the Fight and World of Illusion. So I think those are obviously the songs that Jeff Bate sing on. However, the other singer that at least gets song vocal credits on this album is, well, Tony Martin, who of course is best known for his tenure during those odd periods of Black Sabbath, which were considered to be more like Tony Iommi's solo albums and really Black Sabbath. Just Black Sabbath the name, but they got, of course, the Black Sabbath name. Again, you know, beginning with, like, Eternal Idol, and Headless Cross, and Tear, and, of course, Cross Purposes, and Forbidden. Again, there's a little gap because they had to bring back Ronnie James Dio for Dehumanizer, which I kind of went through some of that anyways in my review for Dehumanizer on, one of my Album of the Week episodes. But Tony Martin, and he at least has 2 songs on this one. That I can tell, which are probably Evil Lies and Master of the Rainbow. They're the only ones that really come across. He's definitely when people said anything about, let's say, Tony Martin's vocal style, a lot of people compared him to Ronnie James Dio. However, over the years, especially recent times, I can tell that he doesn't nearly have that Ronnie James Dio, distinctive to his voice anymore. So even though I can still, he's got the same cadence and the same vocal, at least the range and everything is all there. He still sings the same. It's just that it's not nearly as Ronnie James Dio-esque as it was before, but he still has the same sort of prowess to his voice. And so I can kind of tell those are ones that he's singing on. Because again, he does have a very distinctive style to his voice. So it's great. It's really cool though. I think they are actually 2 of the best songs on this one for me personally, because I really like his vocal style, and I wish he had more songs to sing on here. But again, he was only a guest singer to kind of at least work out these 2 songs. Obviously, I think the members of Quartz obviously felt like his vocal style fit perfectly for these 2 songs. Then let's say David Garner or Jeff Fate, especially probably like, Jeff Nichols and stuff, and obviously they obviously needed to work on those songs. So, and of course, I probably felt ashamed for even adding Jeff Nichols there, because again, they probably recorded these songs after Jeff Nichols had passed away. So, my little mistake there. But again, he's very good on those songs. As far as the songs I think that are good with, let's say, David Garner, I would say Death or Glory and Babylon is Burning are probably my 2 personal favorites of the ones that David Garner sing on. The ones that Jeff Bates sing on, I really dig They Do Magic, Night of the Living Dead, and Brainwash. These really, in comparison to Against All Odds, these come across a lot more heavier than the stuff off of Against All Odds. These actually more sound like, stuff that's more closer to the sound of the first album than, let's say, Against All Odds in a way. They're definitely more doomier. They got more of that classic Black Sabbath flair to them. And I mean, Quartz always kind of had that Black Sabbath flair to them anyways. Not so much like, comparison, let's say, like a Witchfinder General, but they definitely had more of a doomier feel to them, but it was still, very much traditional, hard rock, heavy metal, but it just had that kind of Black Sabbath tone to a lot of the riffing and stuff. But again, it just wasn't overly doomy, but it still had that kind of aspect to it. But these 3 songs, I feel, are some of the best for me. And they are the ones that really have more of a straight-up doom metal quality to these songs. Again, I've already said, I really love the ones with Tony Martin. The ones that Jeff Nichols, I believe, had to have sang on, because of, even though he doesn't get vocal credits, I can't really tell who really sang these ones, but it has to probably either be him or some guy that Tent Perry, I think. I don't know. They didn't really kind of specify who sang on what, but these 3 songs right here don't sound at all any like the guys, like David Garner, Tony Martin, I mean, especially, or Jeff Bate. These obviously got to be from someone else, for all I know. It's crazy. Still, these are real. To me, I think Angel at the Crossroads and Highway to Madness are the 2 of these of the 3 that I think are actually the best. They're straight up rockers, though. More kind of something you probably would expect to hear off of, like, for example, Stand Up and Fight. They're more closer to that kind of style. I mean, there's some songs that come closer, to like Stoking Up the Fires of Hell, and stuff like that. But these ones more come across, something like, for example, was it Wildfire, any of those kind of songs where it's just more of a classic kind of new wave or British heavy metal feel to them. It's got those. Raw as well. The one thing I really do need to bring up is that some of these songs definitely tend to blend into each other. There's really not a lot of faster songs on this one besides, you know, the aforementioned Angel at the Crossroad and Highway to Madness. But it's just more mid-paced stuff for the most part. And that can be tedious, especially being across, you know, 14 songs. But at the same time, I do give at least songs like Evil Lies and Master of the Universe some good credits because of these ones a little more different, they're more distinctive, whereas some of the ones when it comes to either like with Jeff Bate or David Garner, some of the stuff can end up blending into each other, and it can be a little bit kind of difficult to really kind of pan out which one is which, you know, between the singers at times. Even though you can tell, as I said, musically and compositions, not a lot of, you know, variation there. But again, they're still fine for what they are, you know, as far as construction, they're fine for what they are. But as far as even production, compared to, let's say, Fear No Evil, this one is definitely a little more raw. But that's probably because of the fact that these were, I guess, were demos in a way. But just that they finally were able to kind of mix them and master them and everything. They were being left on the cutting room floor for a bit, definitely since probably 2016 or 2017, you know, for that long. But these are definitely, again, it's still fine quality as far as mixing in, you know, mastering. But again, it's not nearly on the level of, like, you know, Fear No Evil. So that's all I really can say here. There's definitely some great stuff on here, but there's also some stuff that I feel is just kind of, that definitely feels a little bit more undercooked. And that's due to a lot of factors that play into that. So I'm not going to try and be real hard or even, you know, try and knock a lot of this stuff. So, because again, it'd be a little bit unfair to do that. But again, I think it's a pretty solid album to begin with. To try and say that I think this is the best since, like, you know, Stand Up and Fight, like I've seen some people already say that. I guess some people didn't really care for Fear No Evil, which I thought was a pretty good album. And I thought that, I guess, was slightly better than this one, in my opinion. There's some good stuff on here, but at the same time, I think it's a stretch to try and say that this is their best since, you know, Stand Up and Fight, or let's say even the self-titled album. I think it's a complete stretch there, in my opinion. So, but again, it's still a fine release, and I still enjoy it. So, there's that. So that's it, folks. There's my overall thoughts on the Edge of No Tomorrow from Quartz. Now, my rating for this one, of course, I'm just going to give it a 8 out of 10. I think it's a pretty good album for what it is, and there's still some good songs. 14 songs might have been a little bit much, but because this was more of an album that was kind of seen as a tribute to, of course, to Jeff Nichols, I think it worked, because this is pretty much a collection of stuff that they were working on since probably Fear No Evil. And it's just that since the passing of Jeff Nichols, they pretty much took a while to really kind of work on these songs. So this is more like a collection of songs than probably in some way, shape, or form, probably a proper full-length album. But it is a full-length album. It's just that because of this, the length and everything to some, I think that the idea was to pick the, you know, the 10 best or the 9 best. You know, it's just more about, let's just try and make this as proper of a tribute as we can. So there it is. But again, I enjoy it. So this album, of course, has been out since May 20th. I definitely am curious on what you think. Again, you probably have listened to this one already, so I'm definitely curious. Again, if they are positive or negative, you can leave them in the comment section below. But if you haven't checked it out yet, I think it's definitely worth checking out if you are at least a diehard fan of, let's say, Quartz, and you dig at least the new wave or British heavy metal movement to begin with. So there it is. Hope all of you enjoyed. This is Heavy Thrasher saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.